Hello and welcome to a brand new video in my workshop and studio series. I'm Anthony. Now, I've used glass domes in the past in my projects because they are a really great way to display what you've actually created. But this dome is huge and it needed a base. The reason being it used to belong to a clock. Now, sadly, the clock doesn't work anymore. It was an old one that my mum and dad left. So the clock sadly had to go, but I couldn't resist using that dome. But like I say, it did need a base. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I created a base using a wood slice. If you like the content of this video, please click on the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and why not click on that notifications button as well. This will allow you to be notified of all brand new content that I upload to my YouTube channel. Right, without further ado, log slice in hand, let's get to those power tools. The glass dome that we're going to be using is 31 centimeters in height. The log slice that I got, well actually I got two, always best to have a backup, is from Hobbycraft here in the UK. As you can see, the glass dome will sit slightly inside the very outer perimeter of that log slice. So first off is the all-important measuring. So I'm going to measure the diameter of our glass dome and it's 16 centimeters across. So next I'm going to measure the wood slice. Now obviously it's not a perfect circle. I'm just going to measure across and it shows me it's 25 centimeters in diameter. I'm going to mark halfway, so it's 12.5 centimeters in from the edge to find the center. I'm then just going to twist my log slice round a couple of times just to take an average, because like I say, it's not obviously a perfect circle. It's a natural item, a log slice. When I'm actually happy with that, I've just made sure that I've marked in what I consider to be the centre point. So now I've found the centre point of the wood slice, I'm just going to hammer in this pin. This is the same pin that is used to give basically the circular groove using the router. So I'm just going to make sure that moves nice and freely by itself, which it does. So we're all set to go. So this is the arm or the bracket, where I'm just going to pop that same pin that I used to hammer into the centre of my wood slice. Just going to position that right there through that hole, and I'm just going to pop a screw just to hold that in place and tighten it up. The fun bit begins, the router pieces. I'm just going to take out the spanner and then this very tricky little tool here, which is basically a little metal bar that's used to basically tighten everything up within the router, and obviously the router piece, which is about the same thickness as the glass. Using that very tricky little metal bar there, I'm just going to pop that into the router, and I'm just going to position the bit there and then just tighten that up by hand to start with, and then just going to use a spanner just to really make sure that doesn't come out when it's actually doing all of the cutting. So now I'm just going to attach the bracket or the arm into the router, and I'm just going to roughly just pop that in place. I'm just going to check to make sure that when I push down, the actual router bit that's going to create that groove in the wood actually does show proud. So I'm just going to twist that over, and as you can see there, it does show proud from the flat part there. So now what I'm going to do is just measure between the actual router bit and that pin. So what I'm actually looking for is half of 16 centimeters, which is the 8 centimeters from the cutting blade to that pin. Now that's correct. So I'm just going to quickly just twist the little bolts there that hold that arm or that bracket in place, and I'm happy with that. And like I always do, just double check the measurements after tightening everything up to make sure that they are absolutely spot on. When I do any of my DIY projects, this always comes out my workbench. So I'm just going to position the lugs in place because what I want to do is just make sure that that wood slice is held really firmly, because once the router blade starts to spin, and I mean that's really fast, it's like a drill basically, if that's not securely in place it will be thrown out. So I'm doing all I possibly can just to make sure that I'm going to tighten up my workbench and just double check again just to make sure that wood slice is not going to be going anywhere. So whenever I use power tools I always double check everything. So yes, I am checking once again to make sure that that wood slice isn't going to be going anywhere. Now I'm happy with everything, we can plug in the router. I'm just going to reset the router bit so it doesn't stand proud of the flat surface of the router. I'm going to place the pin into the centre of that piece of wood and just give it a little bit of a move around just to make sure that everything moves smoothly. And now it's time to turn on the power to that router and just very slightly go into the surface. You're not drilling basically, so you don't want to go all the way through, so we're only going to go in about 1 to 2 millimeters. And then just very slightly start to twist that router around, making sure the pin actually stays in the centre of your piece of wood. So where it comes to using the router, like I say, there really is no race whatsoever. If you drag that too quickly you could ruin things, so the less the speed the better it's going to be. I'm just going to place my hand over where that pin is in the centre just to make sure everything is secure, and just very slowly just keep on pulling that router all the way around until the cutting bit is at the starting point where we started. And I'm just going to turn off the power and just make sure that router bit is completely stopped before I pull it away. There we go, looks pretty good to me. Just going to double check it with that glass dome. Just place that over the top. Well, that was a bit of luck, wasn't it? It did actually fit. I'm pleased with that. So I've now just placed the router on again, because as I said a couple of moments ago, when you do routering you don't want to go too deep too soon, so you like build up your layers as such. So now we're going to go slightly deeper on this one. I'm just going to tighten the mechanism up on the side of the router to make sure that the depth stays as it is. And once again, I'm just going to slowly go around there with the router. I'm pretty pleased with that. There we go. I'm just going to brush that away just to have another look. Yep, I am happy. Again, just double check with that glass dome, and that's fitting really nicely. I'm really pleased with that. This is the first time I've ever used the router to do a circular groove in something. So yeah, I'm pleased with myself. Replaced the router once more, and I'm going to go slightly deeper this time, and I should be happy with that once that's done. I'm just going to release the wood slice to have a closer look, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Like I say, first time I've ever used the router to do a circular cut, and that looks pretty good. Next is sanding. I'm going to use the 60, the 80 and the 120 grit sandpaper. Starting off with the 60, I tried to go in a circular motion to go with the rings of the wood slice. Next is the 80, just take a little bit more off, again going in a circular motion wherever possible. And finally the 120 to really smooth that wood surface down. I'm just going to use some white spirit, just pop that onto a piece of kitchen cloth and just wipe over all of the surface there just to get any bits of dust off completely before you apply the furniture wax. So to apply the furniture wax, I'm just going to use a sponge. Yep, you've heard it right. Okay, because I find that works the best. So just apply a little bit on the sponge there and then just go in the direction of that wood grain. You need a little bit of pressure here, so don't use anything like a kitchen paper tissue to apply that. Use something like a sponge because it just works so easily. Again, just go in the direction of that wood grain, and it's going to really accentuate all the natural beauty of that little wood slice. I'm just using a brush there to go into our groove, and just make sure you get that into all little bits and pieces, and then just go round again using a sponge just to remove any excess, and just give that a little bit more of a going over. Wait about 5 minutes, and then using a paper tissue just buff that up. In my opinion, I don't think you can beat furniture wax to bring out the pure beauty of that wood. Next, we're just going to use some clear varnish just to go around the outer part of that wood slice, basically where all of the bark is. So just make sure that it's really going into all those little nooks and crannies. And there we have the base to our glass dome. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. The first time I've ever used the router to cut a circular groove in any piece of material. The next question is, what do I actually put inside that dome? If you have any ideas, please pop it in the comments below. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. If you've liked the contents of this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to my channel if you're new, and why not click on that notifications button. This will allow you to be notified of all brand new content that I upload to my YouTube channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye for now.